This is a tutorial for working the combination of stitches that I call the combined double increase, double decrease, and it's called that because it combines a double increase and a double decrease all into 3 stitches. You make 2 stitches out of the middle pair of 3 while keeping the stitch count the same, so that's performing a decrease on either side at the same time, and the way to do it is exactly as follows. You work along the row until you get to the stage where you are 1 pair of stitches away from the pair that you want to work the increase into, and in this case I'm going to be working the increase into this green stitch here, this green knit stitch. So this is my first pair to deal with here, this is the middle pair, and then these 2 stitches here are the third pair. The first thing I need to do, because this is standard double knitting and I've got these stitches ordered knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, is to rearrange them so that I've got knit, knit, knit and purl, 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 because we do them one side at a time. So the first thing to do to rearrange those stitches, you insert the right needle into the first, third and 5th stitch on the needle, so that's the first 3 knit stitches if you like. Oh, there we are, it goes into there like that, missing out the 2nd and 4th stitches. Then slide the left needle out and you can see that those free stitches have sprung out to the back. Put the left needle into those to pick them up again before they start laddering their way down, which is disastrous and we don't want that. And then bring the others round and slip them back onto the left needle. 1, 2 and 3. And what that's done, you may just be able to see there, is we've got knit, 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 and then the next 3 stitches, hard to make out, are the purl stitches for the other side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a double lifted increase into this middle stitch of the first 3 then, and at the same time decreasing the stitch that we've made on either side into the one on the outside of it. That sounds very, very complicated, but actually it makes a lot more sense if I just demonstrate as we go along. Stage 1 is to slip the first stitch from the left to the right needle. The next stage is to insert the right needle into the stitch below the one on the needle. Here's the one on the needle here, and we're going into the stitch below, and we're going to lift that up and pop it back onto the left needle there. It's really important to note that every time we lift one of these stitches, we're going to do it 4 times in this combination of stitches here. Every time we do, we need to make sure that it's orientated on the needle in the correct manner, so that if you're thinking about it, it's got the front leg is to the right, or the right leg in front, whichever way you want to talk about it. So there we go, I've lifted that one up there, then I'm going to slip that back and then do a knit 2 together, and so I've made one and decreased one all at the same time. The next thing I want to do is to knit the middle stitch of the 3 with the opposite colour for this pattern. I'm sure there will be other ways of doing it, but for this one I want to knit with the opposite colour, and now I want to do an increase and a decrease at the same time with the last stitch of the 3. So to do that I'm going to go back into that first stitch that I lifted up and lift up the other leg of it. You can see this was the first one that I did, the needle's now going into that one, and again I'm going to lift it up onto the left needle, making sure that the right leg is in front, or the front leg is to the right, whichever way you want to look at it. And from there I can do an SSK with this stitch that we've just lifted and the one following it. Slip, slip, I always slip my second one purlwise, knit through the back loops with the first colour that we've used. That's it for the first 3 stitches for the front side of the fabric. Now we need to swing the yarns forward and perform the reverse for the next 3 stitches, which are our purl stitches. So I'm going to slip one as we did before, then I'm going to turn it over. This is really tricky to get on camera, I do apologise about this, I'll try my best. You're going to insert the needle into the leg there of the stitch below the needle and lift it up onto the needle, again making sure it's orientated correctly. You see how I did that there? And then I'm going to slip the one that I have already slipped from left to right, back over from right to left. There we go. And then I'm going to perform an SSP. So that is slip one knitwise, slip another one knitwise separately, slip them both back purlwise onto the left needle, then come in through the back loops to purl them together, TBL. That's the SSP. Then I'm going to purl the middle stitch of the 3 there with the opposing colour, as I did with the front facing fabric. That's that done, and this is where we have to go around the back of the fabric again and lift up the other leg of the stitch that we lifted up in the first part of that section. So it's not the one that's directly below the needle, that's this red one, but we've already knitted a stitch, so it's the one below that. Lifting it back up there, it's already on the left needle. Can you see how that's gone there? And it's already correctly orientated. Then all we need to do is purl those 2 stitches together with the correct colour, and that is essentially the manoeuvre completed. However, there is one final stage. We've still got knit, 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 and purl, purl, purl going along the needle, and we need to rearrange those. So in order to do that, I'm going to slip 1 stitch purlwise back to the needle. That one's already in the right place. Then I'm going to go into the 1 2/3 stitch on the right needle, slide the right needle out of all 3 of those, and pick them back up 1 and 2 like that. Slip 1 of those back onto the left needle. Then I'm going to go into the second stitch now. It was the 3rd one the last time, now it's the 2nd one. Again, slide the right needle out of both of them, slide it back into the loose stitch, and then swing that round and slip it back on the needle. That's all we need to do now, and then we slip those, because we've worked all of these together, we slip them all back onto the right needle, and we're ready to go. And what you can see it's done here is into that that 1 green stitch, we've got this lovely nice tight pointed V, and coming out of it are 2 greens and 1 orange stitch. And on the other side of the fabric, I'll have to see, try and get it in the light, exactly the same with the V of the orange. It makes a really nice tidy point at the bottom. I'm going to knit along to the next stage of this pattern, where I need to do another one of these combination stitches, and I will join you when I get there. So here I am back at the next place where I want to perform the combined double increase, double decrease. I'm going to be doing it into this, this and this, those 3 pairs of stitches there, and the increases are going to be into this green stitch, so they can go off in 2 diagonal directions from the one nice tidy point. So let's go through that more quickly this time so that you can see how it works in the flow. So I'm going to go into 1, 3 and 5, slide those off the needle and slip the loose ones back on, and then slip those 3 back from right to left, and then I'm going to slip 1 stitch, lift the side of the green stitch below, correctly orientated there, slip 1 back, that's the most important bit to remember, I always seem to forget, slip 1 back there, and then knit those 2 together. Done. Knit the middle stitch with the opposing colour, then lift the other leg of that first stitch up onto the left needle, oriented correctly, and then perform an S, S, K, and that's the first side done. Bring the yarns to the front, slip 1 stitch from left to right, then turn it over, and if you can see there, I'm going into that red stitch, lifting the correct leg of it up onto the needle, orientated correctly, slip the stitch back that we slipped just now, and then perform an SSP, which is slip knitwise, slip knitwise, slip them both back together, go round the back and purl through the back loops with the orange yarn. Then I'm going to purl the middle stitch with the correct, which is the opposing colour. Then I'm going to turn the yarn over again, go into the other leg of the stitch I've just used. There we go, it's that one there. Pick that up onto the left needle, it's already in the right orientation, and then I'm just going to purl those 2 stitches together as you would normally, not through the back loops this time, just normal purl 2 together. Slip those off there, and then swing the yarns straight to the back again. Now I need to get those stitches back in the correct order, and to do that I slip 1, that's the first most important thing to remember, slip 1 back because that's already in the right order. Then I'm going to go into the front of the 3rd stitch on the needle, slip the right needle out of those and then back into those twisted, so I'll get those back in the right way, back into the 2 loose ones, slip one of them over to the left needle, then I'm going to go into the second needle stitch, on the right needle this time round, and slide the right needle out of both of those, and then back into the loose one, and then just slip, 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 and slip, those 4 stitches, and there we have it, the lovely combined double increase, double decrease, and you can continue knitting as normal back to the place where you're going to do the next one. I've got some on an earlier row which are completed. What I'm doing is getting this sort of lovely lacy zigzag effect here, and this is an example of what that stitch looks like in action. This is how we get this lovely V shape, this lovely tidy tight point, and if you sort of pull it there, you can see exactly what it is in order. We've got all of these diagonal rows coming off here out of this one stitch, and on the other side, so you know that being double knitting of course, we have exactly the opposite colours going on, so these lines of diagonal stitches coming out of this one nice tidy pointed V. And there it is, the combined double increase, double decrease.